The links for Odysee, Bit Chute, Discord, Telegram, which is new. I'm still learning how to use it. It seems like it's going to be fun, Cancer. Or support the channel on Coffee and the various other links. How one image sums up a movie tanking? It would probably be this image of this girl with her homemade costume. So the movie bombed, huh? Did you see it coming? Well, did you see this production shot? Yeah, you should have bailed out. Can we stop the movie right now and just cut our losses? Cut whatever money we put into it. It's better to stop it right now and move on to something else. Any other use of funds would be a better expenditure, because you're throwing money into a black hole if you continue down this pathway. So from Ms. Marvel Mundane to Vespa Star Wars, at this point, Disney is just effing with you. So someone asked, can Hollywood make a good movie today in this current climate of post-2020 civil issues? My immediate knee-jerk answer is no, of course not. But then I started to think about it, because it's not just me. People are realizing that something has shifted in Hollywood, or they're taking off the mask. They're pushing these films that look good at a distance, but up close, it's missing the magic. If you look at the films they made over the past 3 years, from Suicide Squad to Black Widow, a bunch of those movies, if you look at little clips of the movies or a few minutes of the movies, you're like, oh yeah, this looks good. And then you watch the movie, you're like, oh yeah, it all held together. And then, hey, you want to watch it again? No? Well, here's the thing. Good movies you want to watch again. And Suicide Squad and all those other movies that came out in the past 3 years, very little rewatchability. There's just nothing to them. It's just they're missing all the magic, and it's hard to explain exactly what they're missing, because it's not there. It's just not there. It's like the Black Widow. Was it a good movie? I guess. But the girl who played her, for whatever reason, she didn't have the spark of her earlier character. So did covering her up, desexualizing her? Maybe it's just the whole vibe of the movie was, I don't know what it was. It was just nothing. It was just like pudding. It was just oatmeal. It was just nothing there. There's nothing to grab hold of and say, oh yeah, this was a good scene. It's there's one funny scene where the guy tries to fit into a costume, and that was kind of the only thing I remember about the movie. Anyway, so there are more movie networks now with streaming platforms, so you're going to get more films and shows. And if you're working on the shows, well, the cut of the pie is going to get smaller and smaller every year. And not only that, but when you go to apply for these positions, if you're the wrong national origin, you're not going to get those positions, or you're going to get fewer and fewer of these positions. So, times are going to be harder working on Hollywood, because instead of working on these $200 million movies, you're going to get a lot more of these $10 million shows. And then even getting those positions is going to be rough, because there's hiring quotas and that kind of thing. And then because they're not hiring on merit anymore, the return on investment on the movies in general is going to be less. So there's less and less money going around in Hollywood, and it's spread out. Instead of major theater setting the film universe, setting kind of leading the way. There's way more streaming platforms out there, but they're not putting $200 million into each streaming show. It's going to be a much less, but you still have to spend the same amount of time to put that show together. So the thing is, keeping up with shows is impossible, because there are just too many shows, which is kind of a weird feeling, because people are not on the same page in regards to shows. And I wonder if people have kindly come to this conclusion, oh, I can't keep up with this superhero universe that I was a fan of a few years ago, because there's too much out there. And to be fair, there's a lot of crap out there too, stuff you really like DC or the Batman universe, and there's a show like Batwoman comes out, and it's just horrible. It's just absolutely horrible. But in the back of your mind, you kind of want to be, you're kind of a completionist. You want to kind of stay on board with it, but it's not. It's just not worth watching. So maybe people feel like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just move on to something else. This is spending too much time watching TV anyway, and go on to, reading a book. Anyway, so when people were talking about who shot JR, half the country, if not more, was on board with the show. Maybe they didn't watch the show, but at least they were aware of a show called Dallas. Now it is a different movie and cultural environment. People are isolated in all these different individual pockets, watching different shows, because it's only 24 hours in a day. You can't keep up with all of it, and most of it now is not worth keeping up with at all. You're better off doing anything other than watching something like Batwoman, unless you're reviewing it like that guy does on YouTube. And a lot of people sort of given up on scripted shows and are just listening to Odysee live streams or YouTube and social media in general. And people seem to think Hollywood is going to come to its senses and kind of make this turnaround and return to fun movies. No, absolutely not. They will continue with this woke push pathway, and they'll wait for people to catch up to these windows shifting left. Eventually, people will accept it and will just get on board with it if they're the only game in town. But the thing is, the white pill to that is they're not the only game in town anymore. There's a lot of alt media out there. For YouTube and Odysee live streams are probably the two bigger platforms now. So there are white pills out there, not to the extent of, no, some YouTubers aren't going to crowdfund a $200 million movie, but it's kind of a moot point, because if you're watching Flashcast, he's got like thousands of people in a live stream. Well, every minute you're watching Yellow Flash do a live stream is a minute you're not spooning down the Disney propaganda. So it's like all these little shows, they all add up to be this huge alternative universe to the mainstream universe. And I'll use Disney as kind of a loose all mainstream media. Like they want to make the world Disney World. They would prefer that they controlled the input, which is why Google got YouTube, and they're tightening the screws on YouTube, which is great, because you're just pushing people to Odysee and Telegram and all these other Gab and Gab TV and all these other alt platforms, because YouTube, eventually censorship hits a point where it's not like we don't have alternative options. There are Odysee live streams to go to, and there are a bunch of other alt media to go to. Eventually, if you want to turn YouTube into like just cat videos and like Disney propaganda, oh, thank God, go for it. People kind of go left until they go right. There is no standing still, not when the landscape shifts into globalism. Hollywood knows that they can brainwash the cattle further and further left, because they've done it for 80 years. Compare a film from 1940 to today. They can get the cattle to accept almost anything. Because I will say the monkey wrench in the gears is the rise of people with cell phones making their own content. That kind of is throwing things a little bit off, where now we do have alternatives. So who knows what the future will bring. But the thing is, they work brainwashing across generations. It's how you turn wolves into purse puppies. You do a little bit each generation. Eventually, you have soy boys burning buildings for trans communist rights. They don't know what they're writing for. They're just doing what their Marxist teachers, their whole lives, these cat lady teachers, and then later in college, their Marxist professors have brainwashed them into doing. They are fiercely passionate about pronouns and tearing down statues, and they don't care about anything but some dopamine. So this question of, has Hollywood gone too far? Eventually the cattle will adjust to the new normal of what Hollywood is spoon-feeding them, or that's what they hope will happen. The thing is, they start brainwashing the kids early enough with Nickelodeon, with beavers who cut their breasts off. If you're letting your kids watch that, then the kids are doomed. I mean, you're going to look back on this period of American history, assuming there's not a war, and be like, so there was a time in American history in 2015 to 2025 when parents were mutilating their kids to make them not be able to reproduce. Yeah, that was just this weird decade, this weird period of American history. It became fashionable to mutilate kids and turn them into catamites. Really, that's kind of hard to believe. No, seriously, here's the holographic old version of the internet. You can go back and watch what people on Tumblr were saying. Yeah, here's a cartoon picture of a beaver who mutilated herself, and this was taught to kids. Like, but aren't you brainwashing kids? Yeah, that was the goal all along, brainwashing kids. So I can't even show a graphic of Rockwell on one side to the evolution of the modern soy boy on the other, because the platform, the puppet masters, probably would not allow it, because YouTube itself has shifted so fast to the censorious authoritarian left. Everything is suddenly problematic, Pretty soon, even criticizing Disney films will be haram. I think about it. If a Disney film has a bunch of BLT purse puppies and you say it sucks, well, they're trying to brainwash you with propaganda. If you reject the propaganda, they're going to find ways to censor you, deplatform you. Globalists can't have free speech because they fundamentally are bad people with flawed ideas. If you have a good idea, you want it to go to the harsh sunlight, disinfecting sunlight, the open marketplace of ideas. You want your ideas sharpened on rebuttal of other people's counter argument. If you can withstand their counter argument, then you have a pretty solid idea. Left-wing globalists don't want their ideas subject to cross-examination because the arguments are fundamentally flawed, and they would fall apart when subjected to a rigorous rebuttal. That's why they deplatform people, because they know they are totalitarians. They cannot get you by rational rhetoric. They have to get you by force. If you don't like BLT puppies pushed down your throat, they will immediately ad hominem you. Oh, you must be a Chad and Hugo boss. No, we'll say. So we talk about stupid shows. You know how hard it is to stay between these navigational guidelines. They talk about us, though it is 10 minutes into this thing. I could probably get away with a little bit more. They talk about us. At least the trains would run on time and cities would be cleaner and safer. I mean, really, what's so wrong about that? Oh, that's just phobic. To have clean, safe cities. Really? Really? Because I think a lot of people would like clean, safe cities. You got a pretty good city if a woman can go jogging at night, and the only thing, she carries pepper spray because there might be coyotes. Like, that's her only fear, is that. Anyway, we talk about the source material, the stupid shows themselves, and they talk about us talking about the source materials. The thing is, they can't just talk about the source material in a positive light because it's freaking horrible. Listen, there's like production photos from Batgirl and Ms. Marvel came out. There's the Batgirl one. The actress is pretty, but she's kind of a stick figure. And they put her in this leather jacket, which compresses her breasts to conceal them as much as possible. And she's probably not that well endowed anyway, which is fine. She's a beautiful actress. But you're putting her in something that's like hiding her body even more. So who is this marketed to? You're marketing this action-adventure superhero film to women. Well, there's not an audience for that at all. So what's going to happen? You're going to have 400,000 people watch it. So a lot of this stuff looks horrible. Like, the costumes look horrible, but people will bend over backwards. It all depends. Like, the left wing is pretty reactionary in this sense, where if they sense that right-wing people don't like something or do like something, they'll take a reactionary position just because they think it's a right wing. If they think like the Star Wars in 2015, it was an older crowd who didn't like it. They were over 40 because they were familiar with the original stuff, and the younger crowd was just reactionary because they know as people get older, they move further and further to the right, and so they took this reactionary position that Disney Star Wars was good just because the older crowd enjoyed it. But it's like you're not watching. I don't know if they still have DVDs or Blu-rays or downloads now. It's like the original Disney Star Wars in 2015 was not getting a lot of rewatchability because the kids said they liked it because they're reacting to 40, 50, 60-year-olds who were saying it was not very good, but they weren't actually watching it, where the old stuff gets much more rewatch time. So, like, you can shill all you want. You can bend over backwards all you want for Disney and all these other kind of Batwoman and whatever. The shows are probably going to be ghost towns, like the woke shows that come before it, which is okay because these people have money to burn. Boiling the Frog includes many underperforming shows because it's not about money. That is the normie position, to think the motive is money. It's not. It's narrative. It's propaganda. It's globalism. It's pushing this narrative to create these mindless sheep sucking on globalist homogenization, soy nipple nectar. Sure, adults may be tuning out, but the brainwashing is intended to work on the kids to create the next generation to accept the new normal. Making good movies to make money is not what propagandists have on their mind. You literally need to make your own alt entertainment these days. And the thing is, every minute you're watching stuff like me and other alt media is a minute that you're not watching the mainstream, and that drives them nuts. It's like, well, only 50 to 100 people are going to see this video. Yeah, but there's tens of thousands of videos like this on YouTube where 50 to 100 people are spending a few hours, like say the video gets 10 hours watch time over its lifetime. It's like, well, that's 10 hours watch time. That's not going to the mainstream. This isn't a mainstream narrative. It all adds up, which is why YouTube is doing what they're doing. They're trying to control and shut down all these kind of things, where like the next channel, kind of, I get the feeling the chopping block would be Yellow Flash and Nerdrotic, because they speak out against the mainstream. And they're still relatively small. You're talking about like under 1 million subs. But if there's going to be a channel that's going to be shut down, I would think it would be those channels, because they have a lot of energy behind them. Which, hopefully they go to Odysee. Like if you're those channels, the Nerdrotics and Yellow Flash, they have the biggest live stream. Live streams are a good indicator of energy. Man, duel your live streams on Odysee. Start getting that Odysee channel set up over there, so people, like, you set up your bank account over there so people can super chat on Odysee as well as on YouTube. I mean, there are people on Odysee anyway. You might as well grab that section of market. Anyway, so specific question: could Disney make good Star Wars today? No. That's kind of the sum of the video. I guess I could have put that in the beginning. If they made it look and feel like 77 Star Wars, it would have too many European people in it. Disney hates the people of the light, so no, they can't build an authentic story universe. Disney Star Wars looks like casting was done according to this diversity checklist. It looks like a Hollywood woke creation. They simply will not make an authentic 77 vibe Star Wars because they hate the people who enjoyed it. I don't know if people really know how evil Disney is, which, I do my best to tell you. But, saying it on YouTube is kind of a bit of a challenge. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, support the channel on Coffee and the various other links. People have been using all these alternative links, and they so far they all work, so that's cool. And join the Discord and Telegram, especially the Telegram, because Discord has terms of services, and I don't think Telegram does. I mean, don't like plans to build a plutonium reactor or anything on Telegram, if you know what I'm saying, because it's like, then it's not the terms of service we're worried about. We're worried about the, don't do stuff like that. But otherwise, it's a free speech platform so far. No, I'm still learning how to use it. I have no idea. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all next episode.